Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you with a message of faith, expectation, and divine assurance. The title is powerful. God said, before 18 October, 4 things will happen. This isn't just a prediction, it's a call to prepare your heart, align your faith, and expect breakthrough. Too often, we look at the calendar and see only ordinary days, but when God marks a time, it becomes a season of purpose. Before October 18, I believe 4 divine shifts are coming. Key point 1 speaks about an appointed season, a divine moment set apart by God. When we talk about an appointed season, we are not talking about a random date or a natural coincidence. We are speaking about a time that heaven has aligned for something to shift on earth. There are moments in life when ordinary days become extraordinary because God places His hand upon them. Before 18 October, this is not just another stretch of time. It is a prophetic season, a moment when things that have been stagnant may begin to move. It is when prayers that felt unanswered may suddenly receive a response, and doors that were silent may begin to make noise. God does not work according to human calendars, yet He chooses specific times to reveal His plans and power. Many people live their lives treating every day the same, but those who walk in faith understand that certain seasons carry unusual grace. In such a season, small efforts produce big results, delays are shortened, and favor flows easily. God's appointed season means He has already prepared the ground long before we step into it. What seems like sudden change to us is actually the unfolding of what He has arranged. This is why expectation is so important. When you know that an appointed time is near, your heart begins to prepare itself to receive. You pray differently, you speak differently, and you walk with confidence because you know something is coming. Sometimes God allows long seasons of waiting so that when the appointed time arrives, the blessing will be undeniable. People may have doubted you, your dreams may have been questioned, and your efforts may have looked wasted. But when God's timing arrives, everything aligns effortlessly. There is no delay in heaven, only perfect timing. And when the appointed season comes, what seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. One encounter, one opportunity, one open door can erase years of waiting. That is the power of divine timing. This appointed season is also a test of faith. Many give up too soon, right before the turning point. But those who keep standing in faith, even when nothing seems to change, are the ones who witness the power of God's timing. Before 18 October, it is not about rushing to make things happen in your own strength. It is about positioning your heart to align with what heaven is already releasing. You do not have to force the door open when God has already appointed the day it will swing wide. When God sets a season, nothing and no one can stop what He intends to do. Delays cannot cancel it. Opposition cannot block it, and fear cannot destroy it. Just as the sun rises every morning at its appointed time, blessings and breakthroughs also manifest at their appointed season. All that is required is to believe, remain expectant, and stay in position. This is a season marked by divine timing, and when God says it is time, everything must respond. Key point 2 speaks about hidden blessings being revealed. Many times in life, it feels as though we are praying, working, and believing, but nothing visible is happening. It can be frustrating to sow faithfully and not see immediate results, but what we often forget is that God sometimes hides blessings for a season, not to deny us, but to prepare us. Just as a seed is buried beneath the soil where no one can see it, blessings are often concealed beneath the surface of our circumstances. It doesn't mean the seed is dead. It simply means it is growing in silence. God works in ways that are not always visible to the human eye. While you are waiting, He is arranging. While you are praying, He is preparing. While you are wondering why nothing is happening, He is setting things in place so that when the blessing is revealed, it will be undeniable that it came from Him. Hidden blessings are not lost blessings. They are treasures placed in the right time and season. God hides them because premature exposure could destroy them or cause us to mishandle what He intended for good. A blessing revealed too early can turn into a burden. So, in His wisdom, He conceals opportunities, connections, breakthroughs, and answers until we are ready to carry them. He shapes our character, strengthens our faith, and refines our vision so that when the blessing finally appears, we can sustain it. What looks like delay is often divine protection and preparation. Before 18 October, many who have felt overlooked or forgotten will begin to see what God was working on behind the scenes. Things that seemed hidden will start to surface. The job that seemed out of reach, the opportunity that was delayed, the relationship that was silent, the doors that were shut will begin to unfold. When God reveals blessings, He does it in a way that leaves no room for coincidence. His timing is so perfect that it turns ordinary situations into testimonies. The same way a flower blooms at the right moment after being closed, hidden blessings bloom in their season. We must also understand that revelation requires sensitivity. God can reveal blessings in subtle ways, a conversation, a small opportunity, a divine connection. If our hearts are distracted by frustration or doubt, we might miss the signs of what He is unveiling. That is why faith and patience work together. Faith keeps you expecting, and patience keeps you steady while waiting. When the hidden becomes visible, there is a deep sense of gratitude because the waiting process teaches us how valuable the blessing truly is. God never wastes waiting seasons. Every silent moment has a purpose. Every hidden blessing has a timing, and every unanswered prayer has a divine plan behind it. When the time comes, blessings that seemed far will appear near. Situations that looked dead will come to life. What was concealed will no longer be out of sight. It will be revealed with power, clarity, and perfect timing, and all the waiting will make sense. Key point 3 speaks about divine connections being established. Throughout life, destiny is never fulfilled in isolation. Every great story involves the right people showing up at the right time. Divine connections are not ordinary relationships. They are God-ordained partnerships that play a role in moving us into our purpose. Sometimes the next level of your life does not depend on a new skill or a new opportunity, but on a person God places in your path. These connections are not based on coincidence, but on divine timing. Before 18 October, there will be moments where the people you meet or reconnect with will not just be for companionship, but for destiny alignment. These are individuals who will encourage, support, and unlock new doors in your life that you could not have opened alone. God often uses people as vessels to carry His plans to others. He places destiny helpers in strategic places, people who speak a word, offer an opportunity, or extend a hand that propels you forward. These connections may come from unexpected places, proving that God's ways are higher than ours. A stranger can become a helper, a simple conversation can open a door, and a long, forgotten contact can suddenly become significant. When God is orchestrating a divine connection, everything aligns naturally. There is no need to force it or beg for it. His hand makes the introduction, and His purpose sustains the relationship. Many people struggle because they try to build their future without the right people around them. Divine connections are like keys that unlock locked doors. Without them, progress can be slow and frustrating. But with the right connections, God accelerates what would have taken years to happen. These people may not look powerful in the beginning, but their presence will prove essential in the unfolding of your journey. They might give you guidance, offer you opportunities, or simply believe in you when no one else does. Destiny connections don't compete, they complement. However, before divine connections are revealed, God often removes wrong connections. Sometimes delays are not because God isn't moving, but because He's clearing out people who are not meant to walk with you into the next season. He separates so He can connect. That is why some relationships end suddenly, or some people quietly step away. It may hurt at first, but later it becomes clear that God was making room for something better. Divine connections do not drain you, they strengthen you. They don't confuse you, they bring clarity. When God brings the right people, there is peace, purpose, and progress. The timing is precise, the impact is deep, and the results are lasting. These connections may lead to new opportunities, ministries, businesses, or simply personal growth. And the beauty of divine connections is that they are mutually beneficial. God will also make you a divine connection to someone else. Before 18 October, be sensitive and ready to recognize when God brings these people into your life, because one connection can shift your entire destiny. Key point 4 speaks about personal transformation taking place. When God moves in a person's life, the greatest change does not always begin on the outside. It begins within. True transformation is not just about changing circumstances, but about renewing the heart, the mind, and the spirit. Before any door opens or any blessing is revealed, God often works on the person first. He prepares the vessel for the victory. This transformation may come quietly, like a seed growing underground, or it may come through seasons of pressure, waiting, and stretching. What looks like struggle is often the process of becoming. God reshapes attitudes, strengthens character, refines faith, and aligns priorities so that when blessings arrive, they do not break you but build you. Personal transformation is not always comfortable. It requires letting go of old patterns, limiting beliefs, fear, and doubt. Many people pray for change in their lives, but are not willing to be changed themselves. Yet God knows that lasting success and purpose require inner growth. He allows certain experiences to awaken strength that was buried inside. Sometimes you realize your true capacity only when you are faced with situations that force you to grow. In moments of silence, disappointment, or waiting, He is working on your resilience. He is teaching you to trust Him more deeply and to see yourself through His eyes instead of your limitations. Transformation also involves renewing your mindset. If God gives you new opportunities, but you still think like the old version of yourself, you may not handle them well. That is why He shifts your perspective first. He teaches you to see possibility where you used to see impossibility, to walk in faith instead of fear, and to speak life instead of doubt. Your thoughts shape your reality, and God knows that an unrenewed mind can limit a powerful destiny. So, He works on your vision, your confidence, and your sense of purpose. You begin to walk with more clarity and strength, not because everything around you has changed, but because something inside you has awakened. This kind of transformation also builds spiritual maturity. It draws you closer to God, makes your faith stronger, and your relationship with Him more personal. You learn to depend less on the opinions of people and more on His voice. You stop chasing validation from the world because you are anchored in who He says you are. When that shift happens inside, everything outside begins to respond to it. Opportunities start aligning, doors begin to open, and the atmosphere around you changes because you have changed. Before 18 October, this transformation will not be about becoming someone new, but about becoming who you were always meant to be. God is awakening hidden strength, courage, and faith within you. He is preparing your heart for the blessings, the connections, and the doors ahead. When the inside is strong, no outside storm can shake you. This is why personal transformation is the foundation of every breakthrough. It is the unseen victory that makes all visible victories possible. Key point 5 speaks about faith activation. Nothing in the spiritual realm truly moves without faith. Faith is not just a feeling or a hopeful wish. It is the inner conviction that what God has promised will come to pass even before it manifests. It is believing beyond what the eyes can see, trusting beyond what makes sense, and standing firm when everything around you looks uncertain. Faith is the bridge between the spoken promise and its physical manifestation. Many blessings remain locked not because they do not exist, but because they require the key of faith to be unlocked. Before 18 October, faith will be the driving force that activates the things God has already prepared. Faith is a spiritual law that works consistently. When a person believes wholeheartedly, their actions, words, and attitude begin to align with that belief. They speak with confidence, they walk with expectation, and they respond to situations not out of fear, but out of assurance. This is not blind optimism, it is anchored trust in God's faithfulness. Faith is what turns ordinary prayers into powerful declarations and turns waiting seasons into seasons of preparation. God honors faith because faith honors Him. Every time someone chooses to believe instead of doubt, they give God permission to move mightily in their lives. Faith activation requires intentionality. It means refusing to allow fear, delay, or uncertainty to silence your hope. It means standing on God's promises, even when nothing seems to support them. There will always be moments where doubt whispers louder than faith, but true faith is not the absence of doubt. It is choosing to believe in spite of it. Every great testimony begins with a moment where someone dared to believe against all odds. Faith is not passive. It is active. It speaks, moves, expects, and prepares. When faith is active, you begin to act like the promise has already been fulfilled. God often waits for faith to rise before releasing certain blessings, not because he is unwilling, but because faith positions the heart to receive and steward what is given. Just like a seed requires the right soil to grow, blessings require faith to manifest. If your heart is filled with fear, bitterness, or unbelief, it becomes difficult to receive fully what God wants to pour out. But when your faith is activated, your spirit becomes fertile ground for miracles, breakthroughs, and divine encounters. Before 18 October, there will be moments that will test whether you will choose faith or fear. In those moments, standing firm in faith will be the difference between watching something pass you by or walking into it. Faith does not always change the situation immediately, but it changes you, and that change shifts everything around you. Faith builds patience, sharpens vision, and fuels expectation. It is through faith that the unseen becomes seen, the delayed becomes delivered, and the impossible becomes possible. When faith is activated, heaven moves and earth responds. Key point 6 speaks about breakthrough happening when faith and expectation meet. Faith by itself is powerful, but when it is joined with expectation, it creates an atmosphere where miracles are born. Faith is the belief that something can happen, while expectation is the posture of readiness to receive it. Many people believe that God can bless them, but few live as though the blessing is already on its way. When faith and expectation come together, doubt loses its power, fear loses its voice, and the heart opens to the fullness of what God wants to release. This is the moment when what has been promised begins to take shape in the natural world. Before 18 October, breakthroughs will flow more easily for those who are not just believing in their hearts, but also expecting with their spirit. Expectation is a silent declaration that you trust God's timing and faithfulness. It is like preparing your house for a guest you know is coming, even if you do not yet hear their footsteps. Expectation changes the way you think, pray, and act. A person who expects breakthrough does not live in defeat, they live in preparation. They speak words of life, they take steps of faith, and they position themselves to receive. This is why expectation is often the missing piece in many prayers. God responds to faith, but he also looks for hearts that are ready to receive what they have asked for. Breakthrough is not always about sudden external changes. It often begins with a shift inside. When your expectation rises, your perspective begins to match the promise. Instead of seeing closed doors, you start seeing divine timing. Instead of feeling stuck, you start sensing movement. Instead of speaking defeat, you start declaring victory. That inner shift invites supernatural acceleration. God moves in spaces where people are fully convinced that he is able to do what he said he would do. Miracles often happen when expectation is at its highest. There are seasons when God allows delays not to deny us, but to build in us the kind of expectation that draws heaven closer. Expectation is not passive waiting. It is active faith. It is praying, praising, preparing, and positioning yourself even before you see the result. It is saying, I may not see it yet, but I know it's coming. That kind of confidence shakes off doubt and fear. It invites divine intervention because it reflects trust. A heart that expects becomes a magnet for blessings. Just as a seed naturally responds to the right conditions, blessings respond to an environment of faith and expectation. Before 18 October, breakthroughs will manifest for those who carry faith and expectation together. Faith opens the door and expectation keeps it open. Faith declares and expectation receives. When these two meet, the impossible becomes possible, the delayed becomes delivered, and what once felt distant suddenly feels near. God honors a heart that believes and expects, and in that atmosphere, breakthroughs do not just happen occasionally, they become inevitable.